So it actually happened, literally just now, and it's official. They have banned Dockside Extortionist, Yule Lotus, Mana Crypt, and Nadu Winged Wisdom. We have a lot of things to talk about. The entire cEDH format is going to drastically change. And I'm going to go as far as even say this is way bigger than the Flash ban. The Flash ban is nothing compared to this. You know, I've actually played in the Flash era, and I've come across cEDH players who never played in the Flash era. So enjoy, you're gonna be a bunch of cEDH players running around saying, I played in the Dockside era. Alright, let's actually take a look at what they write, because they usually write quite a lot. The philosophy of Commander prioritizes creativity, and one of the ways we have historically reflected that in the rules and the ban list is to encourage a slower pace of the game than traditional formats. This gives decks time and space to develop and do different things. We have a goal to make it easier for players who enjoy slower, more social games to have an environment for them to explore. Commander has always had the potential for someone to get out to a fast start and to be the first arc villain in a game, but that advantage has been balanced by having multiple players gunning for them once it happens. For example, they have written like Soul Ring is okay because the person who gets Soul Ring will be targeted by everyone else in the arch enemy structure. Basically, that's literally what they say here. In the past few years, notably since Strixhaven School of Magic, we have seen a pattern of stronger mid-game cards that allow the player who skips past the earlier game to snowball their advantage straight through to the win. Occasionally games like that are fine, but it's shown to be common, and we're taking steps to bring that frequency down a bit by banning 3 of the most explosive plays in the format. And yeah, fast mana is usually what's enabling you to become the arch enemy. So Soul Ring, Mana Crypt, if you have that in your opening hand, together with, let's say, a Rhystic Study, then you're off to the races. Mana Crypt coming down for no mana on turn 1, it's quite possible to have the explosive start of Mana Crypt into a Signet or Talisman land into another Signet, leaving that player untapping 5 mana on turn 2. Yeah, quite frequently. In games going over 12 turns... 12? Yeah, casual. Sorry. It was a very long time since I had a 12 game actually. The accumulated threat of damage from Mana Crypt provides a reasonable counterbalance for its explosive effect, but when you're snowballing to a turn 6 to turn 8 win, it's meaningless drawback. Yeah, pretty much. That being said, I have actually died to Mana Crypt in a cEDH pod. It's hilarious when it happens. Okay, so they don't write much more on it, but I think we're gonna go back to Mana Crypt and the rest, just continue with this. Yule Lotus, another card that gives you 5 mana on turn 2, Yule Lotus does it without even needing a good hand. Though you are restricted in what you can do with the mana, 4 and 5 mana, commanders can pack a significant punch nowadays, often drawing cards to make up for one-shot mana, and defensive abilities such as Ward can't be interacted with in the early game. Okay, I have a lot of things to say about Yule Lotus, but we will get to that too, because here comes the big one. This is the Dockside text, and yes, I expected that they would have a little bit more regarding this goblin. Dockside Extortionist isn't normally quite an explosive in the early game as the other 2 cards, but it can still go mana positive on turn 2 and start generating substantial treasures after that. It's been a board for years, and we've shielded away from acting the past because the card has scaled well with power level of the table. But it is a frequent contributor to a more egregious, I think that's how you pronounce it, egregious snowballing start. No, wait, that was it. That was all they had about Dockside actually. So now suddenly we get to other things. We should also talk about the elephant in the room. We're not banning Soul Ring and have no desire to. Yes. Based on the criteria we've talked about here, it would be banned. Soul Ring is the iconic card of the format, which you get in every single Commander product. But it is true that it's an icon image, you could say, of the format. and that it's significantly tied to the identity of the format, that is, decide the laws of physics in a way that no other card does. Banning soldering should be the fundamental change, the identity of the format. We're trying to eliminate all explosive starts, which means that you should ban soldering. It happening every once in a while is executed and remove the free cards. Geometrical reduces the number of hands capable of substantial above curve mana generation in the first few turns. In that regard, you should still be banning soldering, following this philosophy, because the power level between soldering and mana crypt is actually not... there's a difference, but it's not that huge. There is another ban here, and it's explosive, but in a different way. Given that Nadu Winged Wisdom has been ejected from multiple formats at this point, it's no surprise that we took a close look at it for Commander. Sometimes hugely problematic cards in the format Uku, Companions, are fine for Commander, but our observations of Nadu suggest its inherent play pattern is going to cause problems. Part of the problem is that the way which Nadu wins, where it takes a really long time to do non-deterministic sequences that can be shortcutted and might eventually fizzle out. These aren't dictated combo lines that you have to build your deck around. Dropping Nadu into a normal Simic shell still runs the risk of grinding the game down to a slug resource accurial. It interacts badly with cards that are staples of casual play, mostly Lightning Greaves. Yeah, I've been saying that for quite some time. Like, here's the crazy part. If you actually take a look at a casual Nadu build, and then look at a cEDH Nadu build, they're close to identical, because the combo inside Nadu is Lightning Greaves. I actually talked about this, that if you want to build casual Nadu for Commander, you have to cut Lightning Greaves and Shuku and some other cards. But it literally means that it's very easy to make a cEDH Nadu build and go up against casual players, which isn't what you should be doing. You should not bring a cEDH deck versus casual players, because if you do that, then they're starting to ban the stuff. So in a sense, it's kind of all the casual Nadu players' fault that Nadu is getting banned. Meaning that decks it gets thrown into without abuse intent can still create a situation where the player is monopolizing all the time in the game. Yeah, pretty much. That is not an experience we want to risk, so Nadu itself gets itself another ban. So honestly, I actually expected Nadu to eventually hit a ban. It is more or less a similar concept to Paradox Engine, but worse, because this is in the command zone. So yeah, I can really see why they're banning it for casual reasons. And honestly, I think it should be banned for casual reasons, but we will get to my opinions regarding cEDH in a moment. Because we have some more stuff to actually read. What's coming up? Hopefully quieter updates. Yeah, this update is going to be a blast. I can imagine the things people are already going to write in the comments below this video. So I have a feeling what's going to be written into this comment. We talked in the last update about providing players with better ways to communicate about silver bordered cards in their deck. That project is going well, but isn't quite ready for release, so we're holding off announcing it here. We expect it to be out by the next announcement at the latest. This is actually something they've hinted about before. They have talked about the concept of having some silver bordered cards legal inside this format. Wait, aren't there a few of them actually already? I have to check an update, because I never really see any silver bordered cards these days being played. But they definitely have some intent. They have showcased intent of legalizing some silver bordered cards, so we will see how that develops. We're working with folks at Wizards to provide some new tools to use in the pre-game conversation to help folk find like-minded players and are better excited about some of the possibilities there. No promise on timeline yet though. What happens? We'll be back with our next update in November 18 at the Magic the Gathering Fundamental Release. In the meantime, turn into the charity stream and keep rowing cool. So we have a lot of stuff to actually talk about here. So first and foremost, the main reason why I actually never thought Dockside Extortionist and Yule Lotus would never see a ban is because, I mean, read the card. Sacrifice Yule Lotus, add 3 mana of any color, spend this mana only to cast your commander. Being banned in the format it's only possible to play in means that the card is worthless. It has no other formats it could possibly be played in. And yeah, that feels weird. A card printed for only one individual format is now banned in that format. And the same thing can actually, okay, it's actually legal in a lot of different formats, but Dockside Extortionist was printed originally in a Commander product, indicating that, I mean, it's a little bit weird because it's like Wizard of the Coast are printing cards and then another group is banning the cards that the... it feels off. There should be a better communication between this. I don't know. It's like, I don't know how things are working behind the scenes, but it's like, yeah, strange relationship. And I am quite a bit surprised about the Mana Crypt being banned because they have never really hinted at this. So first and foremost, let's begin by looking at Dockside Extortionist. So in a previous video I talked about if we should be banning Dockside Extortionist, and my conclusion was something that as you might now know, I calculate the data on tournaments to figure out if cards are good, if you should play them, etc. And it's very hard to get an understanding of how good Dockside is because it is auto-included. What you need is a basically 50-50 split where half the population of Blue Farm to Macrom is playing Dockside and the other isn't. And when we have, like, imagine splitting that one 3,000 into two, and then you have one group playing Dockside and another doesn't, you can clearly see that we are probably going to see that the group playing Dockside is having a better win rate. But the question is just how much? We don't know that answer because everyone is auto-including Dockside. So I guess this makes for a perfect opportunity for me to showcase a special project, and as the rules committee are having their update, I guess it's time for a cEDH TV update. What I've been working on. So let's just open this one. So what you're looking at is a dataset that I've been working on. I have been watching cEDH gameplay content from various channels and tracking the turn order, the turn count, the player order, and specifically what I'm actually been gaining at is the cards people have been playing. For example, Dockside Extortionist. So here you have a deck list, the literally deck list that the people have linked in the description below of their gameplay videos, and you can see the entire deck list here that stretches for a far distance, but then cards, these are the cards that appear inside the game, so to say. So for example, this player here that is playing Sauron the Dark Lord had a Dockside Extortionist, Mox Opal, Mystical Tutor, Red Elemental Blast, Sol Ring, and Toxic Deluge. And player 1 won this game, which is Sack on Ishai, Oi, Dragon Speaker, Jeskai Tries Reborn. And you can also see the win con recorded as well, Undual Breach, Lines of Diamond, and Brain Freeze. Cool, huh? But what we can do now is actually look into the dataset and tell it to look for specifically Dockside Extortionist, and boom, we get this. So the Dockside Extortionist was found in 16 winning decklist, and this is if the card was played, not if it was inside the decklist, but if it appeared inside the game, if someone put it onto the stack. And the Dockside Extortionist appeared in a total of 27 games out of all the games I've collected. By the way, that is by individual player. So for example, one game could have 4 Dockside Extortionist potentially appear, and the win rate between 16 to 25 is 64. And that is pretty impressive. This naturally so first of all, this has been a pet project. I have been working on it for a really short time, because it takes an enormous amount of time to actually do this. I only have currently 37 total games yet, which is nothing. My plan was to announce this once we get to like 200. And I haven't really been able to gather data from enough channels yet to get a good spread. I am calculating from a bunch of different channels, so as you can see, but still the dataset needs to be bigger. Much bigger. The original plan with the dataset was to actually figure out turn order win victory, because there is a speculation, or we all know that player 1 has a bigger win rate compared to player 4, but we need something around like maybe 700 games to actually say with certainty if that is the case, and eventually I will get there, but we're far off. But as we are speaking of Dockside Extortionist, we can actually look at it on a pilot perspective, so to say. And the p-value is actually statistically significant, and the chi-square test is mediocre. And we are seeing that Dockside Extortionist seems to be doing good for you. Let's actually do Mystic Remora, for example. So here you have 55%. We only have 8 decks so far, and this is 16 times Mystic Remora has played in a game, and 8 of those times, half of the times, it's leading to a victory. So you're seeing like a small reference between Mystic Remora and Dockside so far. Let's do Soldering actually. Yeah, 40%, so it's dropping. Like, Soldering is weaker in my opinion compared to Mystic Remora, potentially. Now, I think that everyone will agree that Dockside Extortionist is really strong. Our player experience is telling us this, and what I'm trying to showcase here is that we have a small, tiny micromillimeter, small indication that I think is going to continue, that when appearing in a match, Dockside Extortionist is usually causing a victory. You will be more updated on that data sample in the future, because for now, let's continue with the video. We have to talk about how this is going to affect the format, and it's going to drastically, like banning these 3 cards is going to change the format completely. So Mana Crypt has been a staple, and all of Dockside and Mana Crypt has been a staple for all of those post-Adnos, Undual Breach, the Necropotent strategy and such. It is key in order for those combos to actually function and work. Not only those, but I mean, Mana Crypt, Land, Rhystic Study is a legit opener as well. So it's kind of nerfing a big package of various different things. And here I'm gonna be honest with you, I actually don't know exactly how things are going to turn out. I don't think that some decks will be dead, except Corvold. Dockside Corvold was very strong. Yeah, Corvold is dead. What is Corvold go? I think Corvold is going to go back to Food Chain, honestly. But the speed of this format should drastically... Is that an overstatement? I mean, I want to say this. This is very important. This is something I kind of wanted to talk about before. Let's go back to the Flash ban. In the era of Tymna Thrasius. Everyone was playing Tymna Thrasius. The format was Flash, Paradox Engine, Isochron Scepter, and some other stuff. Believe it or not, the format was equally fast back then. And that was without Dockside Extortionist and without Yule Lotus, but also Mana Crypt was tiny key in making it fast, but the decks were still quite fast in operating win conditions, because the win conditions required a very low amount of mana back then. 2 of them, like blue and generic. What's changed is that with the printing of more cards, other commanders have basically speeded up. So the perspective of players that were playing, let's go with Ursa, Lord High Artificer, Ceesay, Tymna Kraum, and other commanders, is that they are starting to catch up in speed to what it was back then for Tymna and Kraum. And Dockside Extortionist and Mana Crypt have been kind of part of that. But a lot of things that is still making the game fast are still relevant and operating and running around. So if you truly want to decrease the speed of this format, this will do a small job of it, but it will not be enough. Soldering is still there, and some strategies doesn't really require that much mana anymore to operate and function quite fine. So in the end, it's going to have an effect, definitely, and probably a quite large one, but the format is still going to be quite fast. One thing I kinda like though is that now suddenly you don't need to worry about feeding Dockside. So there are these commanders that naturally produce tokens of either artifacts or enchantments, like this Elevator of the Wild Court, and you've always run into a small risk of accidentally feeding Dockside with this thing. So in the end, I kinda like that it's going to allow players to play cards and commanders that are naturally feeding Dockside and be okay with it. There's been a few games where I'm sitting there, I kinda like this commander and I like what it does, but I'm feeding Dockside, so maybe I should hold back. But what about those commanders that truly love and have to have Dockside to operate functionally? I've already mentioned Corvold. Corvold is going to be very sad. cEDH should also be very sad. I've been winning and having very efficient victories with cEDH combos without the need of Dockside, so yes, it's definitely going to affect her, no questions about it, but in the end, she should. And back in the days, I played cEDH and I was able to get clean victories without a problem. So yes, it is affecting her, but it's not like killing her. Like the commander is still going to be able to do the things she normally does. Another thing we have to talk about is how it's going to change some cards and the metagame in general. Clones are going to be a lot weaker. Here it is, how good are clones? And in this video I took a look at how good it is to potentially clone a Dockside Extortionist. And here's the cool part. A lot of people actually play clones to clone opponents' Dockside Extortionist. Like you would see Kinnan that can't play Dockside, that is actually strategizing around having a Dockside, just how frequent it is that an opponent has a Dockside Extortionist and you can simply just clone it. So it's insane how much this is going to change. Like it's going to change an entire structure of the entire format, more or less. Because I'm gonna go as far as to say this, Dockside Extortionist is like everything they're writing down here on Sol Ring. They're talking so much about how Sol Ring is key to the format. I wanna say that Dockside Extortionist is probably equally key to the competitive side of this format. It's been nailed into our minds and deck building that this is a card we have to like play around and such, and now it's gone. This is going to ultimately mean that the cEDH format is going to be completely changed, upside down, for good or bad. In general, I might actually go with good. Or let's actually say this, I don't care. It is what it is. Like, I've been playing this format for so long that I know how it feels to play this format without the color identity of red being good. Like, I've known how it feels to play without Underworld Breach and Dockside Extortionist, and I liked it. Alright, we talked so much about Dockside Extortionist. I actually want to talk about the 3 other cards. I know that Dockside Extortionist is the big one on everyone's mind, but let's do a little bit Jewel Lotus as well. So one thing I actually like about Jewel Lotus is that it helps this format become a little bit more commander focused. Now, that's not of course a need in casual, but in cEDH, the format have become quite fast that you don't really need your commander. And in fact, a lot of the times when decks are casting their commander, something went wrong. That might sound strange, but in general, the decks are so strong and functionally good that it's better if you're not casting the commander. And having a card that is promoting the commander coming into play more, in my opinion, is a good thing for the format, because it brings the commander feeling to cEDH. I can naturally see how this is affecting casual, and I do remember Command Zone having a big talk about how they never wanted this to actually be printed. I think they begged Wizard of the Coast to not print this card. But honestly, I am a little bit sad that it's going to go away. And with this going away, we're going to reduce the power level of all the commanders that were basically auto-included. I'm looking at you, Tivit. I'm looking at Corvold again. Oh my god, Corvold feels so sad right now. I actually don't play this in cEDH. I felt that I didn't really need it. It didn't really... I could see, there were some times when I actually played Jewel Lotus, it was going in and out and such, but in the end I didn't play it that much. Godo is going to be very... Oh my god, Godo is Godo going to be around? All of these 3 cards are auto-included inside Godo. This format is going to be so different. Time to talk about Mana Crypt, I guess, a little bit more. So I've actually already said a lot of very important stuff. Like, it's going to reduce the capacity in general. Now we don't need to talk about it. Nadu. I've actually talked about Nadu before. I will just throw this one up here. This is Nadu's win rate from 423 tournament entries. And as you can see, it's a minus right here. It's been going down. When Nadu initially appeared, it started on a 34 something average win rate, and now it's been dropping. It's actually going down below CSA, so in cEDH perspective, I can clearly say right here and right now, Nadu is not overpowered in the tournament environment. It is good and definitely strong, and a commander I would highly recommend that you brought to tournaments, but it's not going to be tournament dominating. It's not going to be an oppressive powerhouse everyone have to be scared about. Still though, I actually agree with banning Nadu because of all the casual reasons that actually exists. I'm actually still trying to sit here and figure out if this is an April Fool's joke, but I don't think it is, because I've never heard of something like the September joke. But this just feels extremely crazy. Now I've talked a lot. I really want to hear what you think. Leave a comment below. I'm gonna be up all night reading comments about this. And I guess tomorrow I'm going to have to change a lot of my deck lists.